So what we're not going to do is leave history for the people that's in control to dictate the narrative of what happened in Los Angeles. And, let's just kick the ball off. In 1965, there was a police incident that took place. And during the police incident, some people got injured and the people went ham. That's just all it was to it. The people went ham and it spilled over. It turned into a melee or a riot. And from this point on, the ruling class of people who had just took Los Angeles themselves and was in control of it for about 20 years or so. This happened in the 60s. I say around the 30s. The 30s and the 40s was white control. My understanding was that in 1929 or something like that, something happened to where those people came in and maybe created an emergency, a flood or something to the fact where they took control over the city of Los Angeles. Because we know that during 1929, we know that the black people had owned real estate in some of the most poshest communities all over Los Angeles, from the Bruce Beach to Biddy Mason, who owned much of downtown. So there's breadcrumbs, but if you dig, I guarantee you there's evidence. The Malibu people was a tribe of black Indians. You can laugh it off and say to yourself, I don't believe it, but my challenge is for you to research it. And what I'm getting at is, over a period of time, so much has culminated, so many things have happened to the people who settled in after the 1965 Watts Riot Rebellion. Because there was one thing to have in the 40s or whatever, to have this huge black migration. But we're talking about people who were just looking for economic opportunity because they knew the industries was developing in California, right? And I'm not trying to downgrade it, because people were under attack all over America. And, also people were coming of age, like my grandfather, because nobody just stay in a city all their life. And my grandfather grew up in Louisiana, so he moved and created a life building the train station. A lot of people worked on the trains. And then later on, he moved to L.A. and did other stuff. So what I'm talking about is I'm giving you a kind of like a timeline of how a lot of our people have lived here in Los Angeles. And now there has been a huge shift. And we seen it coming. They warned us that them white people were pissed off because they were tired of commuting to Los Angeles. That's one aspect of it. And the other thing is that, hey, we want the city that we took from you back. So, and you can see remnants of this Victorian era, Spanish style architecture. You can even see old Moorish stuff, a revival. You can even see, these cathedrals that are, in my opinion, pre-US. They look so classic. Matter of fact, I think I will put that on the thumbnail of this picture. One of the cathedrals that this wasn't built in the 1900s, because of the whole essence of it and how it's built. That this was a Moorish structure that was later conquested and taken over, that probably have been around for a while. Ain't no telling, maybe some hundreds of years, because back then when they built stuff, they made it sound. And so what I'm saying is that there's been a tug of war about who the people who predominantly colonized or lived in the metropolitan city of Los Angeles. And you got to remember that Los Angeles is a industrial hub. So that means that you could be working in the financial district over all the way up that 15-mile strip, 20-mile strip called Wilshire Boulevard. You could be working, doing labor, because they had a lot of demand for labor with all of these industries. You could be working for the aircraft industry, like a Boeing aircraft. You could be working at the airport. You could be working in, on the train. You could be working, in Hollywood and film, aviation, textiles, you name it. They had a lot of industries and definitely needed a lot of skilled people. So, and then later on again in the 80s, with the 70s, with a lot of our people being subjected and brutalized, and killed. And it seems like the 70s was a golden era for some great things to happen. And we lost some, in the 70s was the closing of the 60s. So, we had lost some so-called popular leaders, and thus the dawning of the Black Panthers era, the closing of it in the 67, 66, 67 was when they started, and they finally went to war, the U.S. government with them, and that was a done deal around 1977. The Black Panthers had successfully either emulated into society and dropped their black Tims and they leather jackets and started working for, the government and all that. Or they was destitute on dope and all that, But you can see this chronology of warfare against our people. And I'm not even talking about the redlining, raising up rent or raising up the cost of real estate, buying houses, trying to marginalize where they wanted us to live after the flight. Because I'm telling you, during the 60s and mostly the 70s and 80s, L.A. was like Chocolate City, even though they've always had a few Hispanics, and all of a sudden, in the end of the 80s, right around the time when the crack era had did its thing and they had a war against our people when they were locking everybody up. See, they would create all of these, introduce these drugs just to create crime, to profit from, black destitute, black degeneration, black drug and drug abuse and all that. And, all the way down to everything you can think of. If you have a social security number, they steady want to drain and suck from your social security number on down from your license plate, which is an account. Oh man. So when you sign your name anywhere, your name is worth lots of money. And I'm tying this into how we dealt with people who have been like parasites. Literally parasites, how they attach themselves to our states. when we sign up to these schools, when, the parents and the children, how they get your social security number in the schools are milking them, and the state is milking. And so what you have is a all-out warfare where you're getting leaked of your energy, you're getting diverted, and you have a school system their prime purpose is to teach you that you're not a Corvette or a Ferrari, but a damn Pinto. But you have the look of one. You have the look of a powerful, well-capable persons. And so when I think about the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and how they heavily invested on the future by dumbing down the children and, with these compulsory school systems, then, that is the shit that kind of kept us stunted and to where we had to be taken care of and as prisoners of wars or being remanded to the state as minors or what you call minorities. And so a lot of times, a lot of people don't even understand it. They think you're talking about a minority like they're talking about a number, a small group of people or something. That's not what a minority is. A minority is when you're not able to take care of your own affairs because you've been subjected to a lot of, a lot of illiteracy. And so what am I talking about? I'm talking about how in the 90s we was all getting locked up from these drug crime bills, and a lot of us suffered. In fact, I'm one of the ones that suffered. And this is not about me saying, crying or playing the victim. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is chiefly naming the proponents of warfare that has been leveled against our people. And I'm not just going to let this fly by nobody saying nothing. I have a duty, as I know, to recall from what I witnessed, the death and destruction that I have witnessed, and how when I watch TV, I've never seen white people, Hispanics, or Mexicans hardly ever, unless it was a school shooter or some shit like that. Other than that, it was always blacks dying and going to jail on TV. That was their target. Or unless it was some big governmental scandal or spy ring. Other than that, they swept their murderous natures and all of this stuff under the rug. And so here we are. They've immigrated all the way from the 80s until, the 2020s, 40 years of immigration. And you have a whole bunch of boom of Hispanic people that have been nothing but hostile and foreign aggressors in these communities that, in my understanding, were probably, unleashed. I believe that these people knew to get these other people because historically, these same people, right? These white people with the black hair, they look nothing like us. That's always trying to attach themselves and say, "You Latinos are not related to us. We're not the same." And we can see it how we interact. It's night and day. So if I don't fuck with you, please don't fuck with me. Is the overall, and I remember when I was young, we used to beat them up. You know why? Because we couldn't relate. It wasn't right. I agree. We used to fuck them Mexicans up. And it wasn't right. I must say. I must agree. So, I caught hell later on, doing time and, having riots and being targeted by angry Latinos. Well, you guys didn't belong here. And so that was how we reacted. Like we were not supposed to mix. And sometimes, some kind of way, you probably think that I'm being racist. Every country has their own people. But this government, in their slick way and their nefarious actions, single-handedly use the Hispanic communities that I watched grow. And I did my research, and I know, in the early annuals of Los Angeles history, there wasn't a whole, like during the Zoot Suit thing when they killed the Hispanic because he was copying off us. Who created the Zoot Suits? That was our shit. You better believe it. In Chicago, all that, and then it came to L.A. And of course, we was wearing Zoot Suits, so who else do you think was wearing Zoot Suits too? The Hispanics, right? Because we, that's the truth. I'm not being cocky. That we, dictate the, dress and style. And so, the black church has some say-so. Even in East LA, was a lot of black people in East LA, believe it or not. You got to do your homework because a lot of LA, as we know it now, was not even developed. Beverly Hills was all orchards and all, nothing but plains, agricultural, untamed, mountains and all that. So the original Los Angeles will probably start from the east part where they had General Hospital, all the way to where when you look at the historical Adams District. If you ever get time and you're watching this video and you're in LA, I want you to go to the Sugar Hill Historical Adams District, which is basically from Adams Boulevard to perhaps Olympic. Adams Boulevard to Olympic or Wilshire, all the way from downtown LA, or Vermont, downtown LA, all the way to, let's see, like Crenshaw. These are old Tartarian structures. That some of these structures are magnificent, and if you didn't really know what to look for, you could easily bypass it because it seems like something that has always been there. And so what I'm saying is, as a history buff and a historian, you need to know that our people did not just come to LA on no flight, no migratory flight during the 40s, just to the Central Ave and all of that. That was the labor force. See, the working people. That was that rush. That was that flight was for, is because they know they could work. But they were always wealthy, affluent, dark people who have always been in LA at some capacity or another, even after LA got took in the 20s. So what does that have to do with it? Well, in the 90s and all that, we knew that these people wanted to come back. Everybody, they even talked about it in Boys of the Hood. And sure enough, around the 2015, 2016 era, you started seeing them settle in. And the way they come in is they be very off limit to white people, and they kind of be like lurking is the right word. They would not interact and with our society when we were a little bit more. Our numbers had to go down drastically for them people to start even walking their dog in the daytime, because they was always at night you would see them walking their dogs. They didn't want to act, but we knew that they were here in our communities, and slowly but surely from, I say 2010. Before then, but more evidently from 2010 to up to the date. So when 2020 came and you had this so-called pandemic, it was another chapter to this book being written about the warfare that these nefarious trustees, because that's what they are. They hold our accounts, and they control our estates and all of that. They wage war against us. They use biological warfare the same way they did with the AIDS. That's another thing. The diseases, these fake diagnoses. With the AIDS, that was the test run for the COVID. Once they mastered the AIDS and killing people off, but they couldn't kill enough people off because we started becoming immune and started having stronger immune systems. So we started learning how to live with AIDS and HIV. And basically what happened with the AIDS was your immune system was fine. You didn't have nothing. What happened was them people lied to you and said we found something. And as soon as you took the medicine, it was a wrap. Just like with this pandemic, as soon as you took that damn shot, your ass was out of here. A lot of people died right away. And rest in peace to all those people who were targeted. Never forget that this was no accident. Okay, you don't have to walk around acting dumb. You don't need no mask on. I'm telling you, you wearing a mask is not healthy for you. During the whole pandemic, I could count on my hand how many times I wore a mask because I wasn't that stupid. But this is what we mean. This is what I mean by our people being dumbed down to the point to where they can't really actually critically think and do their own research. And that's the problem. And then a lot of times you guys react under peer pressure. You don't think for yourself. I'm talking to our people. I'm talking to people that look like me. You're guilty on the fact that if you took that shot, trust me, I feel for you. But you're guilty because you guys made it a style to say, guess what? I took my vaccine. I took the vaccine. Yeah. And you don't even know that them people were targeting you. They wanted to get you out of here because you wasn't dying fast enough. So then they started targeting all your assets in the community. They started closing shit down. Once Walmart knew what the plan was, the first thing they did over in the Crenshaw district was they pulled their store out. And then all of a sudden, Ralph pulled their store out. They wanted to starve us in Los Angeles. And as a result, right now, they have a food desert. And they closed down damn near all the Baldwin Hill malls just with a couple shops open. These racist-ass companies that don't want to do business or perhaps was told they couldn't no more because they were trying to starve people out and make them move out. So, and then they burnt people in Palisades and to make it look like it was something innocent. They burnt people. This was strategically so they could build these smart cities or whatever. But they burnt people. They burnt the community, the Altadena. They burnt the Altadena people out. The Altadena blocks, man. They lost their neighborhood. Shout out to the homie Crazy. A couple others. My nigga Monster. My peoples in Altadena. Much love. A few people have still left, but a lot of people, they stuff, perished during this so-called fire that they targeted these people. So I want you to stop being passive and punkish about what's going on to you and your people. If you're watching this video, give me a like and answer. You can all. In fact, I challenge you to go in the comments and tell me exactly how you feel. tell me whether it makes sense or tell me it sounds far-fetched. But what I want you to do is arouse some type of curiosity. Don't just go by the narrative that the narrative that the media heavily emphasizes and pushes, because it's bullshit. Just like them Democrats. They helped usher this whole attack against our people. They did. They were definitely in power. And one thing I could say is, even though I know Trump is doing some scandalous shit, I also know he's doing some good shit, because they're going and cleaning a lot of this shit up. And we'll talk about it more, because there's more stuff to it. It's a lot of dirt that these people did to us, especially the Democrats. And you got to be good to yourself. Don't believe me, And I'm not a big fan of a Republican either, but I do know that our ancestors that look like us created all of this shit. The Republic was created by people who look like us. Sovereignty, all that shit is our shit. Trust, jurisprudence, all of this, the Constitution, they were created by us. You don't have to believe me. Good talk. But hit the like button. Or hit the dislike button. But, get in the comments and tell me how you feel about the fact that we've been under attack, and, they came and they killed a lot of us, our people off in the pandemic with these COVID shots. And that this was a attack against Black America, or the Aboriginals, however you want to phrase it, the Moors. You were attacked. If you took that shot, I feel for you and your loved ones you lost. It hurts me dearly. I don't want to make mockery of such a travesty, because it happened throughout the world as well. But it was definitely a direct attack on people who look like us. That's a fact. And I'm going to sign off and leave you with that too. I want you to let that cook. Okay?